So PAX folks, if you're watching, I
It turned
tried
out
to do the
well.
right thing later. Yeah, I turned over a new, as my friend calls it, new rock.
New rock.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Which I
talk.
might have to do again this year.
Are you going to sneak in this year? I can't believe you'd have to sneak into PAX. That would be ridiculous. They would invite you, with flying colors.
Anyone in PAX watching or listening, how do I get a badge? It's a slacker.
You see, I'd like to be your keynote speaker.
Just say you're
into
not.
PAX.
Just say you're
I've
not.
got a really cool wearable computer thing if you let me in. I might be wearing skates, though, which your security guards will get ticked off about.
Now I should ask, because I did see a girl dressed as R2-D2 with skates. So they kick people out for wearing skates?
Well, the facility security does. The actual PAX goons or whoever they are, they don't really care. So a couple years I went with my skates, and most of the time it was okay. Because I played roller derby, and I don't know, I just always take my skates around.
I'm supposed to ask you what your roller derby name was.
Oh, yeah. I'll bring it back to that in a sec. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. The PAX security guards were trying to chase after me all weekend to boot me out, and I would just dodge them and just take off and leave them. And eventually they caught me on a mezzanine, kind of down where they were doing all the rock band stuff or above the rock band stuff all the time. And that, like, three of them started closing in from different angles, and I'm sitting there like looking at them. It was funny. I was bobbing my head back and forth, looking at each one like, "Where's my hole? Where's my hole?" And finally, they just like swooped in on me and like grabbed my arm, and they're like, "All right, you got to go." I'm like, "All right, I'll leave." Like, "No, we're gonna roll you out." So they like rolled me through PAX by my arm, and like people are like yelling at, "Leave Roller Girl alone!"
Oh.
I hear though that if you play and beat the Rain-Soaked Precipice Penny Arcade game on Steam, you get your badge that way.
Is that how you get the PAX badge?
Maybe I can make some bot or something to do it.
Welcome to the Faulty News Network.
Couldn't they just let you take your skates off? I mean...
No. They actually shoved me out a side door that had like these long stairs down.
Oh, that's horrible!
Yeah, so I couldn't even... I had to take my skates off and walk down the stairs and then put it back on so I could roll back to my motel to get shoes because I didn't have any shoes. So my derby name was the Rectifier, and my number was 1N34, and that was an inside joke to all my electronic friends. So that's a diode part number, which is also called a rectifier, and to rectify things is to,
Yes, that's really clever. Did you spell it W with a W?
Oh, I should have.
The rectifier.
Hey, Jeri.
Rectifier.
To rectify your roller skate situation at future PAXs, you can just get the shoes that have the built-in roller blades that you can pop in and out. So if you see the goons, you can just pop them back in, and you walk around like you got sneakers on. Otherwise, you can slide around.
I would do that, but those are kind of limiting. I love my skates. I have a set of artistic skates with the heel. They make me look like 20 feet tall, and they have very steep angles on the trucks and stuff, so they turn really sharp, so I can twirl and do all kinds of fun stuff and like zip around the conferences and impress people and get lots of attention, which I love. So it's funny about the rectifier thing. The mentality around derby was very much like around the racetrack. It's kind of, a lot of roller derby girls are kind of rough around the edges, and they would, well, I shouldn't say it, but not always the brightest. And they would say things like, "Rectifier, that sounds bad. That sounds like rectum."
Okay.
Okay.
That's where you'll be when I knock you over.
That's right. I wasn't very popular there because I was very aggressive.
Neat.
Yeah, anyway.
We should talk about your web presence and your YouTube videos as well. So what inspired you to share your secrets and make this YouTube channel and do-it-yourself engineering?
Okay, the story of that goes back to 2004, where I didn't have much web presence at all except for just on a few forums. And I didn't really like having a lot of presence online because there are a lot of trolls out there, of course. It made me feel bad, and I have a bad self-image because being picked on in school and stuff like that. But,
and now you're adored by millions. The best payback ever.
Yeah.
I'm coming to my high school reunion. Yes, yes. I have a Wikipedia page. Thank you.
I'm on. Yeah, I do feel some vindication. I'm on Wikipedia. On my hometown's Wikipedia page is famous person from that town.
Ooh.
So I'm like, in your face, Dallas.
Your LinkedIn profile is apparently dipped in gold.
Dipped in gold? What's that mean?
It's like this amazing. I've never actually seen a better LinkedIn profile.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So, 2004. I met John Markoff. He is a reporter for the New York Times, and he liked the toy, and he liked the story behind the toy that I built, the Commodore thing. And he's like, I want to ask you about this story. I'm going to do a column in the tech section of the New York Times. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's great. And so I started talking to him on the phone. He's like, you know what? I'm just not getting all of it. I want to fly out and like see your home lab. So he flies out, and that time I was living back in rural Oregon in this little tiny town called Yamhill, which is like population 900 people. It was awesome. I could do my chip design work on my front porch looking at cows across the street. And he comes out there, and I spent like all afternoon with him. Like, wow, this is a lot of work he's going through for a little column. But when it comes out, it was like this big, like huge, like multi-page thing, and it was my entire life story of like picked on in school all the way to like building race cars, and it was really made me look superhuman, I guess. And then all of a sudden, everyone online wanted to contact me. Actually, it was kind of weird. They were contacting my father because I had no phone number or email that people could find. My dad was freaking out, and I was traveling at the time in Canada, and he had no way to get a hold of me. And he was freaking out because random people are calling asking for me. And when I got home after this whole ordeal, I had these messages from my father. It was like the first one was, all right, something weird's going on. People are calling for you. And then, are you okay? And the second one is like, all right, I cornered one of them and asked them what's going on. Apparently you're in some kind of magazine or some newspaper. And then the next one was like, I went down and got the newspaper. That was great. Oh, my God.
First, what have you done? To, wow, you're awesome. I like that.
So I started like engaging folks online a bit with that. And then I got kind of creeped out because there were like straight up people like asking me to marry them. And then there were like the sneaky people that wanted to ask me to marry them or date them or whatever, which that would first come across as normal and then like twisted around to be a little creepy. So then I pulled completely back and like shut off from having a web presence at that point. And for maybe 4 years or so, that's what I did. And then maybe 2008 or something like that, I started working with this company that made video equipment. And like, you know, people are posting a lot of stuff online. People are still trying to track me down and talk to me at these conferences, and they're posting a lot of stuff that's not right about my life. They talk to me for 5 minutes, and then they would make a blog post, and then all of a sudden that would be the top Google search. And then when I go for jobs, people would be Google searching me and like having all this wrong information. I'm like, this is really bad. And so I was working with this company doing video streaming equipment. So I started doing a couple YouTube videos, and I started playing around with streaming video, and I started talking to some of my friends, like, you know, what if we did I want to learn about live video production. What if I just got some equipment from work and we just do a Sunday show where Saturday we build interesting projects and then we just unleash them onto the internet on Sunday. We set up this hour-long show, which eventually morphed into our fans of the show start asking us to leave the cameras on during the build sessions on Saturday. And then on Saturday, we kept running over to look at the chat screen to see what they were saying, because we were down soldering on stuff and machining parts and things. And eventually we put a projector up so we would just look at the screen. And then my friend Monty's like, well, what if we do speech synthesis? So he started pumping all of the text from the chat room into speech synthesis. And so then the chat room was being read to us.
Is that creepy?
It was kind of, this was such an amazing experiment. I really want to document like it at some point. It was, my colleagues were ridiculing me for doing this. They thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I mean, this was before Google Hangouts, and Ustream was, and Justin TV was just like this weird little new thing. And I felt pretty weird doing it, but I was bound and determined to explore that space. And I was making YouTube videos and putting them up on these different things. And like the chat room, this live stream, it eventually turned out to, I just left it on all the time because it got so complicated with speech synthesis, Skype machines that people could call into my shop. And there was a big screen there that this person's face would show up. They would, like, there'd be a person talking to me like, Jeri, you should use a different type of transistor for that, and this is why. And then they'd whatever hang up and go away. Or when I wasn't there, people would be calling in on the Skype lines and communicating with each other and broadcasting to the world through this constant live stream.
Wow.
Crazy. It's hard to describe. It was crazy and awesome, and did that for a couple of years. And eventually I kind of let that fade away. And that entire community lived beyond my experiment. And right now there's a thing called Geek Streams.
I see them talking about it in chat. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, so they you know, I had like $20,000 worth of equipment from this new tech company that I was working for to do all this stuff. It was so difficult to do back then. And then eventually, a couple years into it, things got so easy that now they could do it on a web page, and all the speech synthesis is, you know, I think it's done locally now on the machines, and it's outlived me. Now it's gone and grown on to this other thing, and all these folks get together and do their projects together on Geek Streams, and
that's fun.
So then I went from that. I decided to just focus on YouTube videos because it was more manageable, and so I've got, I don't know, 200, 250 YouTube videos and lots of views, and I do projects that tickle my fancy. Like my latest project is a bass guitar that is, the body of it's a Commodore 64, and then I have a pickup for each string, and I measure the frequency that's being played on the string. I run that through the original sound chip that was in the Commodore, the 8-bit sounding sound chip.
Wow.
And I resynthesize it, each string on that. And then the keyboard is down below the strings. And on the keys, you can play it like a keytar, and then you can use the other buttons to change the wave shape. So you can like make the strings sound like a sine wave or a square wave or sawtooth. And so that one was fun.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Valve? Because if you're in a mood to talk about Valve, we are in the mood to listen.
Valve. I am completely amazed. It's neat that I have fans that I run into from time to time in like airports or down in Silicon Valley. I run into a lot of folks that have seen my electronics videos. But this whole Valve angle and being associated with Valve has opened up like more people like knowing me and approaching me in various ways from the game angle. And I feel kind of, it's kind of odd because I don't necessarily know everything about the games that they're asking me questions about, and they're so excited about Valve, and people love Valve so much. Yeah, it's really that's the thing about Valve that's really cool. It's like they always try to do the right thing and treat their customers right. They don't always succeed, but they try, and the fans love them for that. I mean, there's constantly tours coming through, and
Has it been a weird transition going from kind of like the rebellious youth, and I would imagine having great power in engineering would lead to great mischief as a youth, and then kind of growing up into working for